Тож розпочинаємо наш захід.
We will be beginning shortly. We are starting our event and we will discuss Ukraine in the Horizon Europe framework. And achievements, systemic challenges and ways to overcome them. And I will be a moderator for you.
Є перекладачі, які працюють сьогодні із нами.
In order for those who are physically present at the event, a translation is provided through special equipment, special gadgets. You have received them. If you haven't received instructions how to use them, you pick the gadget, you push the button on the top, your gadget is turned on, then you can switch the channels, switch the language, and then you can also regulate your volume with a little wheel on the side. For those participating online, translation is provided through WebEx platform. And once you join the program, on your left, on the bottom, you see an icon of the globe. And once you push it, you can switch the channels. You can either stay with the original channels, or the language that we currently use at the event, or you can turn it into English or Ukrainian, depending on what language you need. And зараз ми надаємо
Today's event is bilingual in Ukrainian and English, so we have interpreters who are working with us today. The simultaneous translation for on-site participants is provided with the use of appropriate devices, and simultaneous translation for online participants is provided via the WebEx platform. When you join a conference, you can see globe icon in the left bottom part, and you can by clicking on it, you can choose the language, you can choose the channel you prefer. Stay in original channel, or English or Ukrainian. Добре, продовжуємо далі українською. Ще деякі технічні моменти. В разі оголошення
a couple of technical issues. In case of a raid alert, we don't have a shelter here, but the closest shelter to this building is Arsenalna metro station. So in case the threat is real, we will move to the shelter located in the metro. Hopefully everything will be fine and we will not need shelter. I am also asking you to turn off your phones, not to disturb our participants, and online participants also I am encouraging you to turn off your phones or sound on your phone. So this is everything I wanted to say in terms of the technical issues. And now I am giving floor to Mr. Denis KURBATOV, Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine, who is connecting online. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you. Thank you. It is a great pleasure to be with you today, though I am in an online format, but it is a very important event for Ukraine for its integration into the European research environment. For any scholar, for any researcher, and for me personally, I would like to remind you that we've started working on this project since 2022, but then the new team joined the ministry in 2023, and it was one of the key challenges in order to provide appropriate legislation and regulation so that research actually also is done in Ukraine under the standards of the European Union. This was the first project in Ukraine of such scale. The challenges were enormous, and it was a great responsibility and great honor to the ministry, to Ukraine, and to our employees. Now I can say that this project is quite successful. I can give you some numbers. Recently, all indicators of the program was upgraded on the European dashboard. We have 250% more projects, more applications, plus 155% more funding, plus 180% of Ukrainian organizations participating in Horizon Europe program. I'm giving you these numbers, and this is a comparison of this year to the end of 2023, when we just created the foundation Horizon Ukraine together with the European Union, and the situation now. Obviously, these numbers are quite impressive. The dynamics is there, and I would like to thank everyone, Ukrainian researchers, scholars, scientific teams, businesses, universities, government agencies, and some of our grants are actually given to local governments. A wide spectrum of teams, projects, institutions are part of it at the moment. I would like to separately I would like to thank Frederik, who is connected online today. I would like to thank you personally for supporting this project over the period of its implementation. But whether this is the end, obviously not. We need to keep moving forward. We need to be more dynamic. We need to be more efficient, especially when it comes to funding. Using this opportunity, when I have a chance to appeal to the representatives of the European Commission, I think we can work together so that Ukrainian scholars, Ukrainian scientists actually have access to more funding, because we have 270% increase number of requests and applications. That means that more funding should be provided to Ukraine in terms of supporting its research and development. I wish you a very successful event, and I wish you a very successful next stage of the program, and I hope today's event is success, and wishing you all the best in the future. Thank you, Denis, for your words of inspiration. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for beginning this event. And now I have an honor to invite Chairperson Ms. Oksana, head of National Research Foundation of Ukraine, who is also connecting to us online. I'm happy to welcome you at this event that we were awaiting for a long time. We all were very hopeful and expecting the confirmation of the opportunity for Horizon Ukraine office to be able to continue this exclusive program that is extremely important for the development of the academia in Ukraine and more active integration of Ukrainian scientists and scholars into the global academia. And this event happens this very special day because just yesterday we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Ukrainian independence. We celebrated it, but we also honored it, and now we understand, we all know that independence is something that you keep fighting for every day. I would like to say that the National Research Foundation of Ukraine is based on certain values. And one of our values is that the strategy it calls for independence. Independence is a great responsibility. You have to be willing to take decisions and understand the consequences of these decisions, therefore acting very responsibly. So each time we are watching or we work with Horizon Europe office, we understand that we share values, share the concept of responsibility for freedom, independence. It is also the ability to deal with things that are currently serving as constraints that prevent us from the implementation of Ukrainian intellectual and creative potential of Ukrainian science and research in full. Unfortunately, some perceptions that have been formed or have been developed in Ukrainian academia for a number of years still need to be overcome. And some things are still very disruptive, and I would like to mention two problems. The first one, that is a certain paternalism, a habit of passively waiting until somebody on the top provides you with something, provides you with the opportunity, the absence of personal initiative, an absence of the willingness of going forward using the principle go and do it, and this is why we try to help Ukrainian academia to be more proactive, take more initiative. And the second problem is corruption. We have been watching a lot of turbulence happening at the highest political level, and we have to understand that this phenomena, unfortunately, is not just about political leadership. This is our habit of looking for informal ways of getting access to very limited resources outside and beyond the framework of legislation, outside of the principles of fair competition. National Research Foundation of Ukraine is trying to build ourselves as an institution that strives for fair competition, for resources, and we are very happy that with Horizon Ukraine we share these values and we do our job and keep developing the grant culture, fair competition, and creating a competition, a fair and healthy competition among Ukrainian scholars and scientists. I would like to remind all of us that the war that each of us feels in his or her own way, where everyone participates in, started with the revolution of dignity when the citizens of Ukraine, each of them, understood that they are the ones responsible for their choice, they are the ones responsible for their future, and in this case each of us has to be prepared to keep going with this responsibility for one's actions or inactions in how we implement the principles of the revolution of dignity and how we build our independence together. That is first of all about responsibility. I personally wish Horizon Ukrainian office that is so successful in Ukraine, that keeps demonstrating very specific results and achievements that Mr. KURBATOV just mentioned. So we are very happy to once again talk about success of this project. I wish all of you the best. I really hope that Ukrainian scholars and scientists indeed have access to all these amazing resources and information and opportunities that Horizon Ukraine gives them with the help of financial and other institutions, European and international, and I hope that they keep getting access to that and develop our science, focus on our victory, and help build Ukraine in the future. Thank you, Oksana. We are very grateful to you for your amazing remarks, and we keep going. And now we would like to invite a person who has been extremely supportive of us, who has been guiding us, Mr. Frederik SONDERGAARD, Policy Officer of Unit 3 of International Cooperation, Ukraine and Turkey, Director-General for Research and Innovation, European Commission, who will be connected.
International Cooperation, Ukraine and Turkey, Directorate-General for Research and Innovation of European Commission. Mr. Frederik, are you here with us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Kiss, for your intervention. Thank you so much, Denis Kurbatov, Mr. Kurbatov, for your kind words as well. I don't think anyone believes as much in Ukrainian science as I do, and I am very glad for the current figures we're seeing in Ukrainian participation under the framework program. And indeed, we can see the potential in Ukrainian science and the need to allocate more funding that way. I would like to begin by putting things into a perspective. As Mr. Kurbatov said, the Horizon Europe office has now been operating for 3 years. And this month, we also ensured and secured the funding for an additional 3 years for the Horizon Europe office from Horizon Europe, which amounts to 1.5 million euros in additional support, which is a great achievement. And it shows also the success that the Horizon Europe office has been able to achieve. When we do research at the European level, one thing we need to keep in mind is what we call this principle of subsidiarity. It's enshrined in the EU's treaties, and it says that the EU can only act when the objectives cannot be sufficiently achieved by any member state alone. And this very much shapes the research we support and fund under Horizon Europe. It is focused on collaborative research, excellence in research, tries to leverage that to address our common and global challenges, while we at the same time try to ensure the seamless transfer of knowledge within the EU. And it's one of the many ways that the EU has expanded from being a simple common market for coal and steel into its much more elaborate and nuanced cooperation that we are today. And in this way, cooperation is also not only about vertical integration and development, it's also very much horizontal. Horizon Europe and its association policy is one of the key means that we can promote European integration today and bring a kind of culture and better connection with Ukrainian and European partners. It does that very concretely. Horizon Europe facilitates access and participation into the European research area, promoting and preparing for EU accession, but also leveraging the knowledge within the European research area to support Ukraine in its recovery and economic growth. Let me quickly dissect these three thematics of today's event. On the achievements, I would like to echo what Mr. Kurbatov said. Ukraine's participation has been impressive, taking into consideration the conditions. From my side, I can see that Ukraine has benefited, or will most likely by the end of the year have benefited from over 100 million euros in EU contributions from grants, and has so far signed 343 grants. And this means that Ukraine is outperforming itself during the previous framework program, Horizon Europe. But I think the real success story is hidden behind the figures. Just the other day, a colleague told me about one of the calls we had launched last year, which had a curious requirement to have Ukrainian participation in at least one of the projects funded under this call. It was specifically on energy-intensive industries and the recycling of material, which is, of course, very relevant for the future recovery and reconstruction of Ukraine. And while we only expected one project to have Ukrainian participants involved in it, in the end, 4 out of the 5 projects we ended up funding involved Ukrainian participation. I think this shows that there's a much more interest from European partners to involve Ukrainian partners in their projects. And I think this should spark hope in what our future cooperation will hold Moreover, over this year alone, 104 grants has been signed. These are all grants from the previous work program 2025, which had a very limited amount of opportunities. Therefore, I think we can expect that 2026 or 2027 will be an even more successful years in terms of how many grants will be signed. On the systemic challenges, I would like to acknowledge all the impressive work that has been done by the Ministry of Education and Science in reforming the Ukrainian research innovation ecosystem. I would like to particularly highlight the reforms and implementation of the state attestation and funding for Ukrainian universities. This is creating the right conditions for future participation in the Horizon Europe program and a culture where the funding we put into research aims to have real benefits and impact on society. I also like to acknowledge the reforms that's been done in ensuring that research infrastructures are adequately defined in law and is supported. And this is all part of creating the right conditions for participation in Europe. I think right now, one of the main challenges that Ukraine is facing is not as much legislative as it is cultural, that we now have an opportunity to see Ukrainian universities betting more the activities that are now also being incentivized in Ukraine, such as applying for research grants, extending efforts in managing research grants, and also activities related to knowledge valorization. So I think this is one of the main challenges we are seeing right now. And I think one of the answers is also already there for us because what we need to ensure is that we clear the path for future cooperation between Ukrainian and EU partners to help share and transfer experiences and tricks and knowledge about how to actively manage and do knowledge valorization. So Horizon Europe again becomes the answer. The best thing I think Ukraine can do now is implement its ERA roadmap, which was adopted last year, and which I know the Ministry of Education is also putting many efforts into as well. So those are my takes on the three thematics of today. I will be listening to all the discussions here myself. I'm interested to hear what you have to say. And I would like to thank you for this impressive event and wish you a very interesting and informative day ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Frederik. We are very appreciate for your permanent support and help. Добре, шановні учасники, а ми переходимо до наших дискусій.
Dear participants, and now we begin our discussions. I would also like to mention that this event is broadcast online through our YouTube channels. Those of you who want to watch it can access it freely and watch our event. So we keep going, and the first discussion panel is the program about Horizon Europe role in renovation of Ukraine and its integration into the international research environment. And this discussion will be moderated by Igor TARANOV, the head of Horizon Ukraine Europe in Ukraine. I would like to thank you, all of you who were able to participate and join this amazing event. Nothing can break us. Our enemies will not be able to break us. And those who do not let us conduct our research on a timely basis, those who prevent us from our innovative research, this means that indeed today we're here to discuss unique issues related to the problems of integrating into the European research environment. I would like to talk about those chances that we have already taken, the opportunities that will be lying ahead, and maybe share some of the things that we need to change so that our programs become even more successful. Grateful to all of you who are present here, grateful to all of you connecting online, especially those who are connecting to us on a regular basis. And moreover, thank you for submitting your projects, your grants, and thank you for winning these programs and working with us. Here we are to talk about the role of Horizon Europe office in renovation of Ukraine. Indeed, it's not a mistake. We have chosen this topic well, and let's see how integration into the European research environment combines both issues. We invited some people who will share their own experience, who will comment on this, and we will be prepared to hear all opinions that will soon be reflected on the level of government policies developed by our legislators and adopted by our legislator. I would like to invite Ms. Oleksandra Antoniuk, Chairperson for the Scientific Committee of the National Council of Ukraine for Science and Technology Development, Hryhorii MOZOLEVYCH, Director-General of Science Development Directorate, Ministry of Education. Welcome. Executive Director of the National Research Foundation of Ukraine, Ms. Olga Polytechnic. Happy to welcome you here. Just to remind you that we work as part of the Ukrainian National Research Foundation. Liudmyla HANUSHCHAK, Vice-Rector for Academic Affairs on Humanitarian Development and Youth Policy, Igor Sikorsky, Kyiv Polytechnical Institute. And here we start with you today, and the questions and the issues that we will be discussing will be interesting for everyone, for our audience connected online and audience present here. Questions to which you definitely have answers, things that you definitely can comment on and provide your expert opinion on the problems and issues that we would be discussing today. And once again, I would like to thank our speakers, those who are opening our event today, because you give us amazing incentive, your inspiration to us, because you work with statistics, you evaluate performance of Ukraine under Horizon Europe program, and what points to our future perspectives, and what things that tell us that we still have a lot of issues to deal with. My first question is to Oleksandra Antoniuk. We know that our research and innovation, the transfer of technology, these are three important components that are the most important for the development of each country. You have unique experience in the academia, researcher, head of the scientific committee. The first question is probably more general. Why active Ukrainian participation of Ukrainian institution is critically important? I mean participation in Horizon Ukraine projects for the renovation, for the to build our scientific and research potential. I would like to say, and you've mentioned that we have answers to these questions. I think all present at this event have answers to these questions, because how we can go forward without it, things that we have to prove to ourselves as Ukrainians, as Ukraine, that our science can do fundamental research, that we're able to build bridges between fundamental applied science and things that are needed to the real sectors of economy, and in our case, defense sector specifically, what instruments we can use, how we can do it properly. Of course, we all understand that not always we were successful, not always this technology transfer was productive, because at the time this entrepreneurship culture was probably not that well developed, unlike
Наша участь в таких програмах.
On the other hand, our participation in such programs as Horizon Europe, we are not just learning, but we can teach Europeans some things, I believe. And for my part, I can say that An important indicator is transformation of regular European policy in defense. If we look into the narratives before 2014, those of the European Commission, and especially after 2016, we can see the fundamental change. Ukraine is now regarded as part of Europe, as an outpost of Europe, and we have to do it together. We have to learn, we have to teach, we have to exchange, and Horizon Europe is a financial facility to do that. Thank you, Alexander. Many people argue that the regulation is quite complicated. Gender equality is one of the requirements. We try to be as balanced as possible, all things considered, but this war has changed a lot in Ukraine. It has changed the gender balance. Many men go to war. Women have to accept more responsibility for the rear, for the civilian functions, however challenging. And the second question that I have is for Olga, POLOTSKA, Executive Director of National Research Foundation. She said that we have a set of problems in this state. One problem is related to corruption risks. Can you imagine that? And for the foundation, it is difficult to operate if it is the only grant providing a facility in Ukraine. Starting with the full-scale invasion, we have experienced the budget being sequestered twice. But the foundation never discontinued the operations, never interrupted them. It is a difficult question that I'm going to put to Executive Director. What is the strategic importance of grants given culture being preserved for integration to the European research space and especially for recovery of Ukraine? Thank you, Igor. Well, first of all, let me outline the background a bit, the setting. This is the 36th month of implementation. I'm very happy to see you. And I'm the person who have been subjected to this process from the very beginning. But I cannot still have difficulties to believe that we are that effective, as effective. And for such a long time with the National Research Foundation. Congratulations on that. Now coming back to your question. By and large, I would like to rephrase your very correct approach in a blunter fashion. Can we really discontinue development of the Ukrainian science and research and the Euro-integration movement of our science? And for the future, after the end of this terrible challenge, there will be some things unrecoverable or very difficult to recover. So grant-driven culture is competition-based, and if we discuss two principal mechanisms, not just for Ukraine but for the whole world, they exist for support of science. This is basic and grant-based funding. That's what we use. Basic funding, logically and philosophically, is focused on the very existence of academia and science. Grant culture is aimed at development specifically, and that is when, with the limited resources available, financial but not exceptionally, not exclusively, and to provide funding for the best, we need to have a competition. And in addition to that, when we discuss, coming back to the second part of your question, the European integration philosophy, grant-given philosophy, and that's what it is, because in Europe it is there's no better mechanism for support of the teams, the best ideas in terms of possible and expected effect and influence. And we are very happy that Ukraine was a late beginner, a bit later than we accepted. Oksana would take my point and accept it, I believe, but there's such a toolkit as our facility, National Research Foundation, and our audience should appreciate that we do not just exist, we also develop. And we have this office in our composition, Horizon Europe, Horizon Ukraine. I think this is a very solid piece of evidence that we are developing and progressing in the European direction, with the European horizon, to use this metaphor. And grant funding as part of expenditures for research. And this is a contribution, actually, into development of our economy, our state. It is very important for the human potential, and because of this aggression that has been around for so many years, some part of the human potential, human resources lost because of the brain drain and so forth. We need new connections, new relations to retain science and academia in Ukraine. I'm a great advocate of that. The loss of human capital, the brain drain, and the loss of Ukrainian young elite. This is a great challenge for development of Ukraine as any country, for that matter. We remember the very first month of aggression when Kyiv country was invaded, and so many people were just killed, just annihilated. Even scientists which were working for our peaceful future. And we appreciate this sad fact. And if we come to the office being created on the basis of National Research Foundation, we remember the first meeting when it was very, very difficult because of the raids and bombardments to get to Brussels from Kyiv, and that was a physical approach. It was very difficult for those institutions which were going about setting up an office in Ukraine. This is a sustainable practice, accepted practice, when such entities join such foundations, and the European Commission appreciate our problems, and this provides us with a unique opportunity for the office to be created as part of the National Research Foundation with the merit-based competition, all the competitions for recruitment, and we have encouraging results. They can be, of course, much better. We can imagine that, but Deputy Minister and our policy officer and Oksana joined the chorus to claim that we are on the right track. But European integration is a very sophisticated process and complicated process from the point of view of policy making, development of policy papers, deliverables, keeping our partners posted on our progress reports that are being filed by the Ministry of Education and Science, and that includes our European integration for 2025. Hryhorii MOZOLEVYCH, well, it is about implementation of the state policy for research and developments, R&D, we realized that it was very difficult to shape that Euro integration package of regulations to be presented to the governmental bodies, for them to be appropriated, for them to be reconciled, and all the changes to the procedures which were necessary to reconcile and to streamline, align all that with the clear-cut principles that we see, and the guiding documents like the roadmap, strategies, regulations, changes to the secondary legislation, so forth. Other deliverables, how can we speed up our harmonization? By this I mean the national legislation for R&D and regulations and standards of the EU, and we know that one of the latest documents is the roadmap for integration of R&D, and what kind of efforts should we make for our documents to be harmonized as soon as possible? What is the stance of the ministry? What has been done already? And what has been, maybe not everyone is aware of that. Thank you very much for the question. We can discuss it at length for 2 hours to be brief. 3 to 5 minutes is not enough for the aspects to be thoroughly discussed. We had the special policy paper appeared in 2019 with the Constitution Article 375, which mentions our research cooperation with the EU and integration participation for Ukraine Horizon 2020. Well, those fundamental documents, fundamental also for Ukraine, were included in the action plans of many Ukrainian governments and priority tasks for the new government. In particular, this plan has been submitted for the parliamentary review. I hope it will be upheld and adopted. For the Ministry of Education and Science, specific Euro integration, things to be accomplished, not less than 50% of the indicators identified for the roadmap integration of Ukraine to the European research space, or in the rise of 50% for the applications filed by the Ukrainian entities for Horizon Europe, and this is to be implemented. It is not done by a single ministry. There are many teams, different institutions, educational, research, business, and otherwise. So it's local authorities. This is a serious matter. The ministry have prepared certain tools for monitoring participation of the Ukrainian organization Horizon Europe. Well, this is on the dashboards, publicly available, but we are working on online table, available 24/7 for implementation of the roadmap. Additionally, it's not just the ministry. There are other players, contributors, not just our ministry, but other ministries, and it all had been reconciled and now being reported on. And this monitoring is to be maintained on a quarterly basis. 8 boxes ticked of 113 by 50+% by the end of 2027. That's what we expect. And we have this plan, National Program of Adjustment of the Ukrainian legislation to EU law, that contains a whole set of tasks related to the European integration specifically, and the European research space roadmap, and funding of research for Ukraine. But the roadmap itself has 17 activities under specific rubrics which are in consistency with the policies of European research space, and we have to work on all that. Naturally, Ukraine cannot do everything at once. With the ministry, starting from 2019, we had first experts groups responsible for integration, specific integration into the EU research space. Well, we have just 3 people posted there, and those 3 individuals to process all those documents. This is very difficult, as you can imagine. Yuri was referring to our Igor, was referring to the report. That was the most difficult ordeal in my life, and Olga was there, and she's aware of the questions, which were very straightforward. And they did that offhandedly, reading through the presentation, pointing out pointing to certain gaps or irregularities, agribusiness, for example, or reform of the National Academy of Science for the nearest future. It's a difficult one. It's a tough one. It's you cannot do that extemporaneously and stand in readiness, but we go along this road. We continue, we progress, we proceed, cooperate with our partners. We're getting ready for the committee meeting with Igor in Brussels with on the horizon, with a new update expected for our understanding of our destination, the rate of developments for any Ukrainian academic, inventor, scientist, any person living in Ukraine and ready to produce some results, to be available to gain access to the toolkits of the EU. For those toolkits in Poland, in Hungary, in Belgium, in Germany, for them to be functional also here, the national research foundations or other instruments for support of science and innovation. And it's my dream, I have a dream, so that by the end of 2027 every Ukrainian researcher has access to Creative Europe, Horizon, Euratom, and this would be the most desirable and the best expected result. Let's come back to the EU-Ukraine Committee. When you were reporting, our online audience, they hear the questions, and we participate in such events very actively, usually, for our community to understand the issues in hand, on the agenda, and the best ways to solve the problems. The solution offered by Ukrainians. We have a limited number of people involved in Euro integration. This is not the best factor, not the best momentum of incentive. Our last visit in July to Poland, we understand that they have the head office with 54 people posted and some horizontal national focal points in 6 voivodствas, provinces, plus experts, plus representatives of the programmatic committees, plus the experts working with the representatives of the said committees. The more experienced researchers we involve to help the ministry, the sooner we'll be able to integrate into the European research area or space. We have done everything, starting with the political statement of Mykhailo so Ukraine will be excused and won't have to pay the fee. And Iliana Ivanova, the European Commissioner, in her day said that she viewed the office as a powerful instrument to speed up integration. And the political statement of Ekaterina Zakharieva that the EEC were prepared to continue their support for the National Research Foundation in Ukraine, and that is a testimony that we are integrating in the most correct fashion. But this space is a functional state-of-the-art research infrastructure. We understand that the war started, the aggression started, the aggression began targeting the research facilities, schools, equipment that the universities lost. It is irreplaceable, it is very costly, and the ministry are monitoring this infrastructure, and we understand that the mapping exercise, we understand that there are some things we cannot replace, cannot recover, and perhaps we should look for some available facilities in Europe. The resources with the university for procurement of this equipment are scarce, and we have to refer this issue to Liudmyla, the Vice-Rector. It is never easy for the universities. There's some budgetary funding from the government based on the extension with the criterion of participation in Horizon Europe projects to earning their own money, some bequests, some donor-related contribution. How the universities are trying to solve this problem? Thank you for this question, Igor. Well, let me say that the design of funding for the research infrastructure at the time of war is first of all based on the budgetary deficit. Olga did say that universities are hubs of scientific and academic activities for and with the products offered to business and competition-based and competitive integration. They consolidate their efforts to activate the fundraising and for development of their own infrastructure. And present results testify to the fact, and they confirm that the universities, having consolidated their efforts in 2022, activated filing of requests, applications to different initiatives for the National Research Foundation, Horizon Europe, NATO Science for Peace and Security, and other programs, first of all focusing on research infrastructure as such, available locally and providing for development and provision of offering the best competitive abilities for integration to the European space. The education institutions are different in terms of their specialty. We already have results of the attestation, the second, with the upgraded and updated form, and we can see that universities of Ukraine are capable of competing, of leading the consortia for Horizon Europe, and we enjoy trust and respect with the consortia realizing the high-quality research infrastructure as the Ukraine hub can produce and present reliable results. We are much stronger now. I'm speaking on behalf of the university. The number of applications, they won project and funding, and also upgrade of the logistics and the frontline Kharkiv country institutions are also leading the process. Winners, they present and set up new labs with new equipment, expensive equipment that becomes available for share. So, with the Horizon Europe, thanks to them and project activity of our scientists and academics, our researchers, and their ability and skill in transfer of technologies to commercialize and to meet requirements for application coming from the international donors with high quality research available in Ukraine. This is the platform, this is the hub for future integration of our ecosystem, ecosystem for the upgrade of research infrastructure with the donor grants and creation of safe environment and European ecosystem in Ukraine for high-quality research to be conducted. Thank you very much. I'm grateful to you for remembering the Centers for Shared Use of Equipment and the excellence Centers of Excellence funded by the German government provide excellent opportunities for our researchers. I have no equipment, but I can use your equipment, which I need for final stages of my research. Horizon Europe implement a project which we called RIF. Is related to the roadmap for the research infrastructure. We're coming back to Horizon Europe because on this panel we're discussing the role and importance of this program for integration to European Research Center. National Research Foundation is an associated partner of this project, but we have lots of beneficiaries in Ukraine, and we are very grateful to all the institutions joining the implementation of this project, and we hope sincerely that this work under the project is going to serve as a contribution into policy making for the state and useful for the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. So we have already clarified the issue of funding, the issue of policy papers and policy making. But let's come back to Horizon Europe again and to the way of functioning of the office based at National Research Foundation, and Frederik was referring to Ukraine's receiving another grant for another project. This project is posted on the KOSHYK portal. The grant agreement has been successfully signed. Congratulations all the community, National Research Foundation. That is going to become the biggest beneficiary in Ukraine after another tranche being received. This is a great indicator. But for all the panelists, general question, we are not here to boast of anything. We are here to state the facts, to present the figures that testify to positive dynamics. The statistical data being available, Hryhorii did say that there's this dashboard for the Ministry of Horizon Europe for checking like UA and other persons responsible now for implementation of this program. The Ministry of Education and Science are responsible for Horizon Europe. And we monitored that dashboard here in this very room in the morning because we want you to have the latest update on the figures. And Frederik is 3 steps ahead of us because our update is a bit later. And they say that our position has improved. So to all the panelists, you can criticize, absolutely. You're welcome to criticize and mention many gaps, many irregularities, whenever you find them, or whatever they present a reaction. There are many indicators. We are aiming at 50%. The maximum has been, can be achieved in this real situation. My question to everyone, let me address Olga Polytechnic. Since 2023, you've been on the base of National Research Foundation. We remember the difficulties, the challenges. We were the only project which was 100% funded by the EC, and similar offices where it wasn't precedented. And that day, as the executive director, the only grant-giving authority in Ukraine, how do you appreciate that?
Dear Igor, we have a certain conflict of interest if you are asking me to give an assessment, and we are fighting any potential for conflict of interest, and this is one of our fundamental principles of operation. We never mechanically copy the founding principles Horizon Europe is actually one of the largest, one of the best, and probably one of the most experienced foundation that is giving grants to institutions like ours, and therefore the approach to the conflict of interest and how to deal with it, since we are a Ukrainian organization that provides grants, since we are a Ukrainian foundation, we've taken these matters very seriously. We have to be honest, and I'm very grateful to Pani Oksana for her opening remarks. And then coming back to your question, I would like to share a personal story with you. This is between the Ukrainian Research Foundation, Ministry of Education of Ukraine, and our General Directorate of the European Commission on Research and Education. I hope Frederik is listening to us at the moment, and this is how we started back in 2023, when we already started negotiations. Frankly speaking, I was very actively involved in the process, but I did not believe that this could happen. But then at the level of the European Commission, conversations started about the fact that Ukraine has very high potential, but for obvious reasons, the government cannot support, or generally speaking, professionally, the government cannot professionally support Ukrainian researchers and scholars to the level that Horizon Europe can. So for a couple of months, we had very positive signals and positive things happen. At the beginning of the war, it was hard to believe that this can happen, but those decisions took place. All those special milestones also happened. So since 2023, we have at the foundation of the National Research Foundation of Ukraine, Horizon Europe office, and so behind these two institutions, there are very specific people. These are our colleagues from the main directorate of the European Commission. They made these very important steps, unprecedented for the European Commission in the past. We appreciate it highly. We understand that Ukraine was offered some very beneficial conditions, and Frederik mentioned today that there is no one else in the world who believes in Ukrainian science more than you. I share that, and I second that, and this is something that we that was a very important signal that Ukrainian academia, Ukrainian institutions received, that the foundation cannot just successfully submit applications, and this is an important indicator towards which Ukraine needs to move forward, not to be just part of the consortium. This is important for the beginning, but for those who are only beginning, to take upon themselves coordinating role, because this is what the foundation did. So it was the first application when we also served as coordinators, but there was no other way of doing it. So instead of being a guest, to become a full-fledged partner, this is our dream. We can talk about what can happen during the next 3 months period, 3-year period, Office 2.0, as we call it, as Igor mentioned. A grant agreement had been signed. We are expecting the next steps so that this project can and Office 2.0 can continue to function. And this is not criticism, and this is not my special evaluation, but indeed we would very much like to create with the foundation and with the office for our scientists, innovators and researchers a system or a location where we would not only explain how to submit grants, how to look for partners, what competitions may suit your research goals, but I really hope that we create a very safe, a very understandable process or space where anyone from Ukrainian scientific and academia circles, and hopefully everyone can have access to it. I hope that all of you know that you can come and attend this event, these roundtables where information is being disseminated, to join online, or to read on the website, where this potential can be implemented in full. The potential in which European Commission has a lot of trust and a potential that should be implemented, and this would be a safe space where each of you could share your concerns, your fears, your experience, and so that I would like all of you to know that we have a lot of professionals, experts who are here to advise you, and it's not that we know everything, it's impossible to know everything, but I strongly believe that our European partners can match whatever knowledge gaps we have, and I hope that for the next 3 years this office will be functioning in full. I thank you for that. I will mention a couple of people, or maybe I mention everyone. I would like to thank people who helped to create this office together with European Commission, Marek Limeter, General Director, Signator, former Deputy Director, Natalia Doля, Ruta Zernoskaiden, Silya Bozhinova, Liudmyla Mykhailova, our first political officer, Frederik SONDERGAARD, who is present at this event today, and of course Mariko Manitsky. I would like to thank our dear speakers. I always say that the art of a good speaker, the real qualification of a very good speaker is to give full answers to the questions that the audience is interested in, but to keep audience motivated to learn more about the program, to submit your applications, submit your grants, and we will do our best for our community so that we have the best performance indicator, and within the 10th framework program, Ukraine's place will be very prominent. I would like to thank all the speakers for participating, for making it your priority for today, for sharing your experience of integration into the European research area and research space. Thank you for your concerns and the way you express them. Yes, I know that all regulation, that policies in research and scientific activities, they all are submitted to you, and it's not very easy to fine-tune this regulation and legislation. We are very grateful. We thank the Ministry of Education for helping with coordinate, for helping to establish coordinating bodies and for funding them. We live at the foundation, we work at the foundation, and every time I hope that the foundation hears what we get to say, and that our performance indicators get even better, that Pani Olga Polotska science, the reports that we submit. We thank university and academia community for involving your scholars and scientists and researchers to our events, and thank you for sharing your positive experience, and thank you for educating other academia for what this access to European research community can give them. I would like to invite all speakers for the general photo. Natalia will make this photo for us. You all have a program in front of you, an outline, and later during our networking section, you can ask each other questions, and this is how we will do it. So questions during networking session. Thank you, everyone. And now I give floor to Yuliia. We switch to the next discussion panel. Thank you, Igor. And we are continuing. Dear participants, I would like to say that at the end of this event, in addition to networking, when all of you will have the opportunity to talk to the speakers, we will do a group photo. So please, once we are finished, don't leave, because we want to join a family photo with all of you. And we switch to the second panel of our discussion that is dedicated to Ukraine in the Horizon Europe program. And we will talk about this following topic, from the first results to competitive participation in the program. And I would like to invite our speaker, Anastasiia BABINTSEVA, Professor, Department of Pediatrics, Neonatology and Perinatal Medicine, Bukovinian State Medical University. The next participant of our panel connects online, Ivan Kulchitsky, President of the NGO, Agency of European Innovations, Ukraine's representative in the Program Committee, Digital Industry and Space. Mr. Ivan, I know you're connecting online. I hope we get him connected. And I keep introducing our participants. Svetlana Stepanenko, International Projects and Partnership Development Manager from U-Control Company. And I would like to introduce another speaker, Head of Horizon Europe Office in Ukraine, National Research Foundation of Ukraine, Igor TARANOV. Igor. Wonderful. We are all here, but I would like to make sure that Ivan Kulchitsky is connected online. Is he with us now? Can we see him on the screen? Yes, we have Ivan. We see you. Welcome. Wonderful. So here we begin our panel, and let's talk about practical experience of scientists. Anastasiia, the first question is to you. From your experience, what is the most difficult thing for the Ukrainian researcher or a scientist, from the idea to participation in the competition of Horizon Europe program? What helps you to go through this process successfully? Dear colleagues, thank you for your question. I have a great honor to represent Bukovina Medical University, Department of Scientific Research and Development, and to share our experience of winning their competition in action. And at the moment, we will be serving as coordinators of this project. Our partner is University of Pisa from Italy and Caroline University from Sweden. Critical to our success was Office of Horizon Ukraine, because they supported us, provided us psychological and very practical support, and based on our experience, probably for Ukrainian researchers and scientists, and a very important barrier that needs to be overcome. It's a psychological barrier when teams or scholars do not believe in their success, so they are focused more on negative results, things that could go wrong. They start to evaluate pros and cons. They say, do we really want to waste time on submitting the application if there is a high risk of getting negative result? And these teams that are extremely powerful actually stop their activities. From our experience, our situation was quite the opposite. When the team was very motivated, when we were very much believing in ourselves, and this also happens when the result is negative, and then after the negative reaction or after the negative experience, the team stops working on the project. I think it's important to keep going on. Unfortunately, we are quite limited in terms of our human resources when functions of project managers that have to be performed by people who very often lack proper skills or educations. When we talk about our institution, our project activities are implemented by practicing doctors who just decide to expand on their skills or expertise and undertake coordinators or management functions. So for us, it's very important to set up structures at the universities or units at the universities that can be given different names, but those who can help and support such research teams, because researchers should be focused on producing ideas, and logistics and financial issues need to be dealt with by people who have appropriate skills and training. And the other thing, probably the other problem, that it will never be like it was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. The environment is very difficult because project activities and those projects that become successful, these are our unique opportunities to develop our educational institutions. We, of course, all hope for bigger finances directed our way, but I think we have to be focusing on the development of these extra sources of financing that in many cases become the main source of funding to support the infrastructure, to support the people, especially when it comes to institutional development. Anastasiia, you're absolutely right. What would you advise international Ukrainian researchers who have great idea but who have no experience in participating in such programs? Because, as you say, some of them are completely confident versus others who are completely not confident in themselves. Again, based on our experience, is building network is very important. It's hard to win the project if you don't have an internal team and when you don't have a well-developed international networking, because European partners, they actually help because they have more experience in implementing such projects. Another very useful, very practical tool and very practical advice is to participate in, for example, brokerage events. From our experience, this is 100% must have. Not to ignore such opportunities at the moment. Practice a lot of Horizon Europe assist in brokerage events. You have to get registered. Don't be afraid to apply. Don't be afraid to submit your pitches to your project, because once again, from our experience, we know, and one of our pitchers actually helped us to secure 15 partners with whom we communicate on a regular basis and who allow us to formulate, to submit and develop applications with high level success. And please don't be afraid to involve young people, because these project activities have to be built at the level of university education, because we have very forward-thinking youth. We have young people who speak languages. We have young people who produce not just ideas, but they are totally capable of building logistics around it. Sometimes they advise us on the ways of how to better implement these projects. And in many cases, they are critical for our success, and they are our success factor. Thank you, and I really wish you all the best with your projects and with your Horizon Ukraine projects. And we then switch to our next speaker, Ivan. We would like to learn more about the experience of NGO in Horizon Europe program. You represent an NGO sector, and you have significant experience in innovation, and you also participated in Horizon 2020 projects. What could be the role of NGOs with Horizon Europe projects and in the development of Ukrainian research and development ecosystem? What is the value of such organization as yours to international European consortiums? Unfortunately, we cannot hear you. Hello. Thank you very much for your invitation. It's a great honor. I was with the office at the very first event, at the end of this current stage of the program. Wishing you all the best, wishing you a lot of success. I hope we can work together in the future. The issues that your colleagues brought up, they are very relevant, and we also had those issues. Our experience is over 20 years from the 6th grant program. I'm hearing my colleagues, hearing you talking about research and science as NGO. We follow these discussions that are taking place within the new team that launched reforms very often, even on the terminology level. Maybe so scientific activities, scientific technical activities, innovation activities. I'm talking about terminology, so because there is a lot of discussion about what terminology is, what is behind these terms and the words that are being used. I understand that this is one of the difficult discussions. We started with the 7th program when Europe understood that a lot of research has happened, a lot of scientific results are there, but they are never implemented into practice, and Europe started to develop mechanisms so that these ideas, this research becomes practical. So now you have this topic clusters with the focus of social economic aspects of research. In reality, in our scientific and technical activities, something that we don't always understand and not always focus on, because we, in the best case, talk about commercial aspect of the projects, and this is still a big gap when we talk about Ukraine becoming part of European research area. When we talk about NGO, indeed, we started as a government agency, but when it comes to project management, we at the level of NGO have much less bureaucracies compared to universities. Of course, we don't have the same scientific potential that the universities or research groups have, but we have a lot of experience, a lot of management experience. When we talk about NGO sector or public sector, it's not very homogeneous. There are NGOs on the level of think tanks, and when we talk about European integration, many ministries, in order to conduct the dialogue through for certain clusters, they invite NGOs from our platform, and we participate in 2 platforms, Eastern Partnership and Ukraine-EU Association. We are in EU Enlargement Group. Here we see a lot of very practical interest of the European integration, of involving NGO sector into these discussions, and the interest sometimes is bigger than within Ukrainian organization. There are many clusters that are supported by agencies, NGOs, think tanks, and these are different forms of participation of NGOs. We serve more as analytical center with some research capabilities, but we are also a typical public sector when it comes to the need to support the results of research in a wider aspect by people, by civilians or certain target groups. But on the other side, when we talk about scientists, when they are focused on their research area, we have a wider view. When we talk about how to adapt this research into everyday lives, because many results of the project really depend on how each city, how each community or uses them. For example, this applies to digitalization, climate change, healthcare issues, agrarian sector, and other sectors where citizens, local communities, how they use the results of the research from these sectors. On the other side, when Europe is trying to allocate more money to research and innovation, and we are currently talking about approving the budget for the 10th program, it's very important to show the citizens and communities how exactly these results of research improves and changes their life for the better. So this is important arguments that we need to use because now we have great arguments from Miltech when our leadership finally understood that our engineers, our innovators, our researchers have great potential, and our defense depends on how quickly we implement their research results and their ideas. And also I'm talking about active NGOs that are very good at project management. They have to survive because we don't have basic finance. We have to keep our people. We have to be effective. Something like certain universities or certain government structures, they have budget allocated by the government. We don't have that. Therefore, NGOs have great experience in project management because they are responsible for their survival. And it's not just when we look at Horizon Ukraine, not only our NGO is successful, there are others. I would like to mention our colleagues from the National Environmental Center, a group of researchers who work at the academic centers, but at the same time they have their own NGO, the National Environmental Sector, who are very active in policy development, etc. Why do we need that? Because many results of the research, for them to be practical, it's not about getting commercial results. We need policy, we need policies, we need legislation, we need regulation that will help to implement these policies, and all these things take place in the form of a policy document or certain regulation developed by the government institution. We have great experience in advocacy, and I think this is our competitive advantage. So once again, involving citizens into accepting the ideas and results of research, the whole area of activity called citizens involvement. Then the second aspect where we can be useful is the community that accepts the results of the research, then advocacy effort that is taken in order to widespread the information and research results. So this is what we are currently working on, because we are participating in 3 projects of Horizon Ukraine, Digital Europe projects of different types. You can see them on our website. There are interesting consortium, difficult consortium to run. They are different. We have different management experience with them. We can share our experience, and I'm very happy to say that Horizon Ukraine helps a lot of different organizations and platforms. For many years we operated without that access and without that capacity and this step-by-step support, and this support is so important for those organizations that are capable of serving as coordinators, because coordinating function is very important. Those of you who have undertaken it, I know it's not easy, but this is a way forward. If you have any other questions, I will be happy to take them. Thank you very much. Ivan, you're absolutely right when you've mentioned that the Office of Horizon Europe office helps not just the NGOs. We are open for anyone else who needs that, who are interested in our programs and who want to take part in them. And as you noted from the very first days. You are part of our programs and our activities, and thank you for sharing your experience and your thoughts. And we shift to the next participant, and we will talk about participation of Ukrainian business in Horizon Europe programs. Svetlana, Horizon Europe program opens opportunity not just for research institutions, but for business based on the experience of YouControl. What motivates Ukrainian company to get involved into European research programs, and what practical value can this give to businesses? Thank you for your question, and indeed you have mentioned motivation. It is very important, especially for businesses that are only beginning to take part in Horizon Europe programs, because if I say that our participation in this program from the very beginning was more linear and more motivational and never disrupted, this would not be true. We had many challenges because this was a very unknown space for us, for our company. We needed to sort out and go through a lot of requirements, a lot of demands. This is not the usual grant that businesses are used to. This is completely different ecosystem. But when over time we were able to learn, get more comfortable with the program, and therefore deal with new challenges, we finally understood that there are so many advantages that are not so visible at the beginning of the program. As a product-focused IT program that first of all develops IT programs, we can get funding for our products. We can bring to this consortium.
We can bring about the expertise and the technology that is not available with them, and it is a win-win situation. Because of that, for the unobvious or not so obvious advantages, networking and partnership, first of all, taking part in Horizon Europe, you develop a contact base, a portfolio, test it with a real task, and then you can join another consortium or have a peer project, common business projects. We have had plenty of such cases. After the consortium, we would continue our cooperation far beyond the consortium, the original one. And the third, not so apparent thing is validation of our decisions in the European environment. We realize that things that we do in Ukraine is also useful for Europe. And no business can function in vacuum. Feedback important. What matters is the actual demand on the part of the European users or beneficiaries. You get the feedback, confirmation or denial, and potential for business is there, and it is big. It is sizable. You just have to understand how your unique expertise can be translated to this consortium. Thank you, Svetlana. At the very beginning, you mentioned your apprehensions for your organization, that you were a bit apprehensive. But what are the principal impediments which prevent the Ukrainian business community from more active participation? There are several levels of impediments, because people think that Horizon Europe is just for scientific or academic institutions and non-profit organizations, which is not so. We are a living example of that. People discuss science research, but business is left a bit aside. It looks like a university-based program, more likely. And this is an internal preventive factor, and they do not even look for any Horizon Europe-based grants. Another obstacle is a great resource that you need for the entry. and the price of entry for a small business with which is not so lavishly staffed and equipped and provided for in terms of capital, it is very difficult for them to enter a consortium, to find partners, coordinators, and to find the entry point, to prepare all the necessary documents. And this and filing the application requires knowledge, skill, and very often such organizations lack the resource in question. So, and the last thing is the lack of long-term planning. So not just for a year, 1, 2, or 3 years, 6 years even. Smaller businesses, they cannot plan for such a prospect, for such a horizon. And this long-term planning might look unrealistic and unnecessary for that matter. But with Horizon Europe, before the consortium gets an approval or any kind of response, there is some time elapses, and from the beginning to the finalization point, well, another 2 or 3 or 4 years might pass, and this business should plan in advance and realize in advance which point in their development they are going to be at when the approval comes their way. And that makes your participation or prospective participation is much more hopeful and reliable. Dear participants, at our site we have success stories and there you can familiarize yourselves with the success stories of Horizon Europe, with Horizon Europe, with the advantages and the impediments highlighted there. Let's continue the systemic overview of the state of play and the next stage. As head of Horizon Europe, Igor, how do you appreciate the 3 years of development, or your operations rather, and how can we be more competitive? Thank you very much. I've been listening to the answers provided by the panelists, because these are people with the success stories to share. And Ivan was discussing the NGOs and the local governments, business, universities, networking for the whole set of playing. In terms of networking, we have Igor Pivovaro, expert in innovation, expert in networking. And it's because of your assistance that we had this meeting with Katerina Maternova, and we have had a webinar with Mateusz Bialas for networking and the European Research Council. Let's come to networking mentioned by Anastasiia. You are a living example. The electronic letter from our Lithuanian partners from the office on Friday, and they need 48 hours, only have to find a partner to join the consortium in oncology. And we had to think about it really, but that was Friday. By Sunday morning, Anastasiia was available with an answer. I looked up the mail and we participated very actively. Your search for partners, 15 new partners, perhaps that was a spectacular one. Not the last one, I hope, where Ukrainians represented their opinions, but this is a unique case. This is a unique case when Estonia provides support to Ukrainians understand, not with the Horizon Europe funds. So this is a different level of networking. a very advanced one. Coming back to networking, we have many requests. This is about being systemic from business institutions, for the public or civil society sector with the Horizon Europe business, and this reshapes our training curricula, our outreach, our trainings, to share the knowledge that might be interested for the consortia, for the competitions, business, and this is free research and innovation, and businesses cannot easily find their place in there. But we have more and more requests from business community specifically, and we design a special blog for business in Horizon Europe and demonstrate top list of Ukrainian business organizations, those leaders and winners of Horizon Europe. Igor Pivovarov would say, always mention the important relationship with local authorities all over Ukraine, southern parts, Odessa country, July this year, last time, west of Ukraine, center of Ukraine, north of Ukraine, Rivne country. These are events that we had in cooperation with the local self-governance bodies, because they also focus their attention how they can engage communities in such competitions. And there are many opportunities coming their way. And that includes coordination of the projects. This is about challenges, this is about courage, this is about making the first step. And for the first step, we have to be really bold, really daring. Denis KURBATOV and Frederik was SONDERGAARD. They said that confirmed that with Horizon 2020, Ukraine, after 7 years of the program, received 48.1 billion euros, and that was a good indicator with a network of national contact points. And as of this morning on the dashboard, we cannot see all the statistics available through the sites of the European Commission. We can see what is reflected on the dashboard, and then over 100 million euros. But this morning, 94.49 million euros. So just imagine, Horizon Europe, as of the 19th, it was 82. After a week, we have this growth. Our stakeholders based, we discussed that in a systemic fashion, over 5,000 people, entries. That's the Ukrainian organization. 5,386 and 4,447, 4,813. Ukraine are very systemic in their approach to the competitions, in a very confident and skillful way they approach. Very competent they are in using the search functions and presenting themselves and their expertise. And in that way, they know everything they need to operate this portal. And then the statistics, which is a motivator in its own right, with the negative dynamics, negative trends for participation in this program, and that includes all sorts of barriers, obstacles, engagement, working after hours. Well, in that case, they wouldn't have applied. This is not just about support from the office. This is the network of contact points. Ivan Kulchitsky has a great mailing list, the database, and we cooperated on certain events and activities. And when they search through their network and disseminate information Horizon Europe. That means that this organization reaches out to every single participant. And what kind of changes are we expecting for the future? We expect to end this 10th framework program, the budget exceeding, well, being doubled at least. From the financial point of view, this is twice as much opportunity, or as many opportunities, and higher rate of competition, because it's a highly competitive program with sufficient funding, but also a program that helps us develop. We cannot use our old ways, old tricks. Everything is changing. Our perception, our conscious realism, and our action. So perfection, influence, they ideally are shaped by our, or described by our associates. For the remaining part, it's about up to the consortium, so that the project proposal filed does not come at 2359 when the European Commission stops the operations for the day. It should come in advance. We believe in our opportunities, in our chances. We are quite confident in our applicants, and there are no doubts that your applications speak for the fact of high interest in Ukraine and also our international partners in you, for you to be included and incorporated. So this drives us to my next question to you, Igor. Tell us, please, what's the role played by the office specifically, and how the needs of the Ukrainian applicants have already changed, say, from basic consultation to more sophisticated initiatives and coordination for the consortium. Our role is significant. It is a leading one. We are the coordination center for the network of national contact points. We're in cooperation. Then we'll see the representatives here, I believe. And when we start from the very beginning, Ivan was referring to that he's one of the trailblazers. And he said that we had unique opportunities to discuss things at the office's platform for the programmatic committees, first of all, to express all the visions, proposals to improve our performance. And when we discuss the role of the office, without the network of national contact point, without the community, we cannot clearly understand that things in the grant agreement. This is the letter of law, but from reality of our research and innovation, we can learn totally different things. The role is a leading one, as I said, but this is about synergy. With Erasmus Plus, National IP Office, IT Hub, Ukraine, National Coordinators, Creative Europe, Digital Europe, Eureka Program, and Purchase Association. This is our joint work that we can, together with our partners, lead to high achievements. Well, I am honored to be part of Office Horizon Ukraine. Well, a question to the floor, to our panelists also. Very briefly, you're very successful in implementation of the project, but you all represent different types of organizations. What are the key conditions to proceed from formal engagement to competitive participation, indeed, in your opinion, in your view? Please, Anastasia. Thank you very much for the final question. About the stance of our institution, we come asking for something original, and then we come back offering things. Now, the institution in this lack of visibility, awareness, perhaps, in our post-Soviet attitudes, and thinking that you need to publish 210 articles in some unknown periodicals. It should be 10 or 15, but with high quality, high recognition, and quotability, to understand that this calls for participation in beautiful projects. Thank you very much, Ivan. Now for you. Look, it's been 20 years, and I've experienced several surges of interest in Ukraine. First of all, this was related to the institutional level. I remember the 7th framework program for the Academy of Science experts, the Cabinet of Ministry, represented by the Ministry of Education and Science, and they were discussing general things, and then the widening of the cycle of applicants, Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020, for business participation for businesses. And now we have to lobby for the best increase in Ukraine. And for Mr. Pivovarov, he's my witness actually here. For the effective competitions and pillars and programs, thanks to the working programs and changes to them, we refocused on Ukraine. And Europeans could not provide for Ukrainians. Ukraine was supposed to benefit from it. There's energy and other things related to that. And institutional operations should be there. For the institutional operations specifically, we have low engagement for the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Energy, and other line ministries. They understate or perhaps do not sufficiently appreciate Horizon. I'm not here to criticize anyone, but I can mention 4 to 5 universities, and they are well advanced because of the project office of policy, so forth. To have strong organizations, they should participate. Really, Mr. Kurbatov and the ministry, with the evaluation criteria, they are trying to motivate the universities and the administration, but many universities should promote the institutional level. Last but not least, we do not sufficiently take into account the potential of youth, that of youth and the diaspora. There are great opportunities, but we have not yet tapped on that. And with participation for Horizon Europe and in our next framework program. And for the Horizon, there's a role to play, and a significant one. We have even some clashes with Igor, because there is more expected from the government organizations. It's not about us as such. We are self-reliant. But this ecosystem for support of participation is, well, let me just say that there's a lot to be done, a lot to be desired. Well, let me say that I have 2 things to mention. They should stop looking into this. Well, for some points you have to expect the preferences of the EC in terms of funding and constant and continuous professional development. It's not enough to have a good idea, a great specialist, and be confident and sure of your drafting. You have to approach, to apply, and to report. To do that, you need a set of skills. You have to attend trainings to develop professionally. This is very important for such projects. Thank you very much, Igor. Your opinion. 10 seconds. I'm a fairly fast speaker. The camps for project proposal, drafting. This is a problem where the Ukrainians follow our announcements. We are invited and be active for the camps in question. It's not just about listening to that and not learning anything. You are not supposed to be a passive listener. You need to be daring, to be aggressive in the discussions. We can find some solution and always arrange for a win-win situation. Thank you very much, Igor and all the participants. We would like to have a picture, a family picture. You're with us. How should we do that, I wonder?
Було видно пана Івана?
Давайте, можемо сюди.
Чудово.
Можемо сюди. Ось так.
With Ivan's camera as the background. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we would like to continue and switch to the third panel discussions. Ukraine and European research area space and presentation of interest at the international level, to be moderated by Natalia Didenko, Deputy Head of Horizon Europe Office in Ukraine, and NRFU. Thanks, Yuliia. Let's proceed to our third panel discussion. As it has been already announced, it's Ukraine in the European research area. And its representation. It's my honor to moderate this panel discussion because we have raised the issue of integration into this European research space, universe, and this is extremely important. It's not just about Ukrainian scientists. This is about something much more important, with a full-fledged participation for Ukraine. This is about shared priorities and policies, lobbying for Ukrainian academic, scientific, and innovation community at the European level, and also development of international partnerships. A very important role is to be played by representatives of Ukraine in the programmatic committees, at the programmatic committees and the network of contact points, Horizon Europe in Ukraine. We're going to invite them to discuss that and the presentation of the Ukrainian scientific community in Brussels, cooperation with the European Union, at the level of Ukrainian delegation, Ukrainian scientific and academic diaspora. So let me introduce our panelists. Vitalina Babenko, Horizon Europe and CP for the European Institution of Innovation and Technology, EIT, Kharkiv, National University of Economics, Vice-Rector for Research and International Cooperation. Oksana Berezhna, she is reportedly on her way. Let me introduce her, and she arrives. She's to be given the full Ukraine's representative to Program Committee, European Innovation Council, European Innovation Ecosystem, Director-General, CEO, Director for Innovation. For the Ministry of Education and Science, Mykhailo HREBENIUK, contact person for HEOinUA, project head of GARD Global Promotion, liaison office in Brussels for UA R&D is joining us online. So I would like to ask our technical staff to arrange for that. Igor Pivovarov, Policy Office for Research and Innovation, EU delegation to Ukraine, and Ukrainian scientific desk. Evgenia Polishchuk, co-founder of Ukrainian Scientific Diaspora Initiative, professor at Kyiv National Economic University, visiting researcher at Krakow University of Economics, visiting fellow and Portland Institute at MIT, to joining us online. Also, Oleksandra Sklerenko, Horizon Europe NCP for New European Bauhaus Initiative, Associate Professor, Department Foreign Languages Translation Teaching Techniques. Natalia Shalimo, Ukraine's representative to Program Committee, widening participation and strengthening of the European Research Area. Dean for the Department of Economics of Central Ukrainian National Technical University. So we're happy to invite our panelists for this discussion, or to this discussion, and we are here to focus our attention on the various steps that Ukraine, not those that Ukraine has already made on its way to European research area, but the further development and the necessary developments to become a full-fledged partner on a level with the EU countries, EU contributors, so that we shape this European agenda for research and innovation.
So my first question will come to Vitalina. You are heading and you have a lot of experience in a very interesting component, the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, that is basically formulating a unique European ecosystem, a consortium that involves academia, business. So what opportunities for Ukrainian organization are open in that respect, and how this component opens for Ukraine opportunities for wider implementation and involvement to European research environment, and whether Ukrainians have successful experience in the implementation of competition within this component. The floor is yours, Vitalina. Thank you very much. Indeed, European Institute of Innovation is a unique program of Horizon Capital Office, because it is not only focused on fundamental research, but it's a practical combination of researchers, academia, and business, where we focus on different communities, innovation and knowledge. Each of them represent long-term pan-European partnerships for the solution for dealing with very specific challenges. For example, at the moment, we are focused along 10 different activities: energy, manufacturing, urban mobility, raw materials and processing, climate, culture and creativity, digital health, food, and the last component is water and water management issues. All these activities represent a very dynamic ecosystem that give access not just to grants, not just to grant proposals and the opportunities for investment, but also access to different educational programs, also providing services to business incubators, startup schools, hubs, spin-off hubs. And I have to say that in addition to this, we have a number of separate initiatives initiatives from IT, like K-Education Initiative. In my opinion, it is one of the most successful initiatives from AIT, because more than 60 Ukrainian applicants received opportunities for participation in the consortium as coordinators of these programs. Therefore, this program demonstrates over 50% of success of participation of Ukrainian applicants. In addition, there are special initiatives or separate initiatives for the development of startups, acceleration processes, IT jumpsters, pre-accelerator program that is called to support innovative ideas with Rebuild Ukraine special nomination allocated just for Ukraine. In addition to that, these are programs that give access to training or education, AIT Dutch Talent Initiative, and we have to say that over 1,500 Ukrainian students, researchers, scholars, businessmen, other Ukrainian applicants participated in those trainings, workshops within this program. This is an initiative that supports women innovators in Ukraine, such as Червона Калина and other programs that support Ukrainian business, founders to founders and others. And we have to say that this support is extremely significant to Ukrainian entrepreneurship teams that go through national and then European stages of this program, and later get support of European venture capital fund and programs. So I have to say that from the beginning of Horizon Ukraine office establishment in Ukraine and the network of national contact points, AIT increased the volume of financing 3 times for Ukrainian applicants, and as of now the portfolio is over 4 million euro. Of course, this is just a small percentage of potential funding, but indeed this is a great potential for Ukrainian applicants, not just to receive financing of their innovative ideas, but to develop, to get access to training and education, to make their ideas more commercially successful, and to move forward to European research environment. Thank you, Vitalina. Indeed, you emphasized the important thing that within this component, in addition to clusters being responsible for health, water, climate, there are other opportunities with these components, other activities where you can get involved. Also, you focused on the role of Ukrainian women, where indeed we have competition and support just for Ukrainian women within the framework of this initiative. So thank you very much for your response. And another very important initiative under Horizon Ukraine program is New European Bauhaus, that unites science, innovation, sustainability, inclusivity, creativity, maintains high quality of the environment. So, Olesa, my next question goes to you. How exactly this initiative is accepted in Ukraine, and how this initiative in the future can help Ukraine to renovate and rebuild after war renovation and development? Do you think competitions within it will be possible? Where do you see bigger potential for involvement, for communities, for businesses? So if you can talk more about this component of the program, the floor is yours. Natalia, thank you very much for your question. Probably in order to answer this question, a very important one, I would like to start by a small background info. Back in 2020, Europe was recovering from COVID pandemic, and Ursula von der Leyen came up with the initiative that green European course should not be just a set of political mechanisms related to climate indicators, but this European direction of this European perspective has to be communicated to every citizen of Europe, and it has to be comfortable. She introduced the concept of new European Bauhaus that should not be just a cultural initiative that is based on three fundamental pillars: beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive, something that is accessible to everyone. This is why this initiative is relatively new, but anyone can find his or her place under this initiative. The key factor and key participant here is community, because this is a platform where, when it comes to Ukraine, rebuild starts and goes on, and the community shows how it sees its future in a way that it is comfortable and based by European principles of coexistence. Business can participate with its construction material approaches, new approaches to business, and with its new recycling technology. Universities are important component of the new European Bauhaus, because they are very powerful mechanism that generates ideas that are later being implemented with the help of different opportunities of new European Bauhaus, not just as European horizon, but within Erasmus programs. If we talk about culture, this is a very important aspect, because each community builds its own, according to its own principle, based on its own cultural and historical heritage. So to continue to be mentally healthy and to continue to work in the country, they have to build on their historical legacy. So this new European Bauhaus has a lot of faces, and everyone can find his or her place. European Commission allocates a lot of funding, 120 million per year, just in research and innovation component, and 120 million for the second component called rollout. I'm very proud to say that in September of 26, the second few Ukrainian beneficiaries as one application will start implement projects on rebuilding their communities, and I'm very pleased to say that Kyiv city will be one of the most important players. So this European initiative is new, so that everyone can try to be part of this ecosystem, and it's great to be watching that Ukraine becomes a very important player. Lesia, thank you so much, and I'm also deeply convinced that the involvement in this new initiative of Ukrainian participants is a joint effort where we help to recognize what is part of this initiative and to try to involve as many Ukrainian participants as possible. Thank you so much. And in order, if we look at the process from the standpoint of the European Union, Igor, my question is to you: how do you estimate the current level of Ukraine's integration into current European research community, where Ukraine demonstrates significant progress, where Ukraine lags behind, where we still have barriers that we need to overcome? So the floor is yours, Natalia. Thank you. It's a very interesting question. Congratulations to everyone on this event. Thank you very much to the foundation, to the office, to its amazing team that brings together experts to this very meaningful discussions. And if we look at the process of Ukraine's integration into the European Union from the standpoint of the European Union, I would say the following: this process moves towards its completion, and to a large extent Ukraine is already integrated into the European Research Center in an institutional way, but we are lacking one important element. We have to complete this integration in a very systemic manner and to set up our own vision, what is next for us. And this is very important difference between how Ukraine sees it and how European Union sees it. Ukraine is not at the level of being periphery of European science. We have made a huge step forward, especially with the beginning of the full-scale invasion. It sounds like it is a paradox, but the statistics of the office, our rate of integration, of interaction through the European delegation that we represent here, the milestones have been set up properly, and we know exactly where we are moving towards. Many Ukrainian researchers are involved in European programs. We work in European labs, universities. The number, of course, does not correspond to potential of Ukraine, but we still see significant progress. From the very beginning of this movement, there are several things that are quite significant for us. First of all, we have done we have some achievements to be proud of. We've discussed with Mr. Taranov that we are not here to complain. We are here to focus on success so that we can deepen this success. You know that in 2025, at the end of this year, Ukraine approved of the roadmap of EU integration. That was a very difficult document to approve, but it is very important. This is basically what we do until the end of 2027, how exactly Ukraine goes about its progress towards the EU. For me, it is of principal importance that this document is not just about international cooperation. That is key, obviously, and it's not a secret that European Union is the key partner of Ukrainian researchers among all international donors that support Ukraine during these very challenging times that we have to go through. Ukraine is moving from the logic of participation in European programs to the logic of building its own system based on European principles. So by integrating into the EU, we join the club that operates according to certain rules, and we have to not just to comply with these rules, but to adapt our heritage, our legacy that we had and during the Soviet times as well, to the club at the doors of which we are knocking. And Horizon Ukraine is a key element in this program. Horizon Europe is not just a basic and the key instrument to support Ukrainian researchers and scientists, and I'm not exaggerating here. This is an oxygen mask that supports Ukrainian science from its clinical death, because our science, unfortunately, is in the situation when it needs radical shock therapy, so that it has to rethink about its place under current conditions. And the war is not just a catastrophe. It's not just pain, death, disappointment, and destruction. This is also a great opportunity to rethink about your paradigm of existence, to reorient it towards result, towards the future, not just rebuilding Ukraine, but to transform Ukraine so that Ukraine finds its place in European research and scientific communities. So this is a unique ticket to first class ticket for the train that carries Ukraine forwards to the EU, and it is up to us how well we use this ticket. Every international consortium where Ukrainian scientists participate is one of the elements of the puzzle into this mosaic of the place of Ukraine in European science, and it is from the researchers and scholars present here. You are the ones driving this train. It's not about agreements, it's not about the EU, it's up to you, because we as Europe set framework, and you as scientists, you set the rate, the speed with which you move, whether we run like crazy or we move and we do things step by step in a consistent basis. And what's more important, see the ultimate goal. And number 3, an achievement that you all need to know about. You've all heard about it. With the beginning of the war, all universities that have incurred significant damage, that were destroyed, they were looking for international support, they were looking for partners, they were talking to their sister universities in Europe and outside of Europe so that they can receive some first aid. And this was a very dispersed effort. This effort was very unfocused, and to us in the European Union, these processes were happening irrespectively of what we did, because Ukrainian universities, all the contacts that they had, were using their partners, universities of Kyiv, Sumy, Zaporizhia, Chernihiv, not just frontline areas, but other parts of Ukraine, were all taking their own efforts and initiatives to look for support. Eventually, we've adopted a tailored or a custom-made approaches created specifically for European institutions. You've known about Rammstein coalition that was created for defense purposes, and it is normal when during the war the priority is given to defense and security. But in Rome, we were able to create an international coalition to support Ukrainian science and integration. This is unprecedented event that maybe some of you do not know about, because as scientists you are more pragmatic people, but we in the European Commission, with the support and at the initiative of Italian government and together with UNESCO and together with Olga POLOTSKA and with Mr. MOZOLEVYCH, who was speaking earlier, we were all present at the birth of creation of this mechanism that is currently gaining momentum. So it's not just a discussion club, it is not just UN blah blah blah, how everyone is concerned and how we stand for peace in the world, so where it is. So we are creating a consortium of countries that are creating funds in order to support Ukrainian universities that were destroyed, Ukrainian scientists, all those who still work on scientific projects that are so important for Ukraine's future. Because for Ukraine, it's not just about the way of becoming a competitive country after the war is over. For Ukraine, science is also one of the key pillars for the development of civilized European country within the family of other European states. And now where I see problems, I promised to Igor that I will be very open. Key challenge of Ukraine is not access to ERA. This is the opportunity to take advantage of this access properly. You can be associated member of ERA, you can have 150 roadmaps, you can be represented in different European consortiums, but if within the country there is not enough institutional support, if with certain actions international independence of the National Research Foundation is being disturbed, and as we will be watching the autonomy of this independence of this institution very carefully to make sure that this institution continues to be independent, and the Office of Horizon Ukraine operates within its original framework, its principles, it will be very hard to move on. It's like when you are running in the gym, when you are using equipment to run, so when in reality you're not really moving forward in spite of the fact that you are running. A lot of these issues are being discussed in different circles, but it's number one issue. Gdansk Declaration declaration that we signed this year during Ukrainian Cavalry Conference has a very ambitious goal. The Gdansk Declaration for International Coalition is focused at encouraging Ukrainian government with different methods, including political pressure, various benefits, to make sure that the government continues to fund research in the volume of 3% of GDP. You will say, it's a lot, but yes, this can be done. Corruption risks that were mentioned by Oksana at the very beginning, which each corruption scandal, obviously the scandals are being noted, those people who make decisions in the Brussels, and we hope that those corruption scandals do not add to any negative image. And we hope that we as scientific community are not impacted by these corruption scandals. And the third problem is the connection of science and innovation. In Europe, it is very important, we mentioned this in our report when it comes to Ukraine, that science in Ukraine has a lot of potential, but unfortunately it doesn't produce enough innovation. And I'm very happy to see Ms. Berezhna here that will talk more about it, that will speak about it in detail. I would like you to know that we know that significant amount of work that the General Directorate of Ms. Berezhna is doing, this becomes the skeleton of the new fundamental of the European ecosystem. We are not talking about science as separate anthropological phenomena. We are talking about science as a booster of innovation, because science has to produce startup, innovative technology. Science has to serve like a wind, a draft that shows the progress for the country, because just science itself, for the sake of science, just sometimes at our research centers, for them it means just some writing, some manuscripts, monographies that no one will ever need or no one will ever read. And the last component is human capital. Topics, what potential and what human capital we can talk if people leave, if there is no one there at the research centers, labs, if we do not create conditions through Horizon Europe capabilities, access to infrastructure, European infrastructure, Ukrainian scholars and scientists hopefully will come back with that experience. And key function of Horizon Europe is to make you a part of this European science, but focused on Ukraine and its science, with the potential that you've gained serving in international consortium. Of course, we are missing people who will help write grants and who will help to train you to write those grants. I'm supporting the call that Igor voiced. Proposal writing is something unprecedented. You have to sign in, you have to participate in every training that is offered, because the team of the office does amazing work and puts a lot of effort in looking for opportunities all over Europe, so that we provide for your interaction, productive interaction, so that you understand, you know the rules, you know how to submit those grants, and you can write them with your eyes closed. And at the end of my notes, I would like to summarize the answer to your question. I would like to say that Ukraine indeed received keys to era, but our common assignment is not to get lost in this house, so that everyone knows where the right room is for each of you, so that we are not going through some dark labyrinth, but we know exactly where we belong, and this responsibility is on the European Union and on Ukraine. As you can see, European Union will continue to support science, because everybody is talking about the reform of the system of justice, the system of law, the system of safety and security. Science was second or third priority. Now the government thinks more about supporting science, because it's not just startups and new defense technology technology for the battlefield. Science is something without which we can be like Russia or Belarus, living and focused on its own world, produce things for internal consumption. We see a different way of Ukraine, and I think that together as joint effort we can go through this process properly, and Ukraine will finally take its right place within the European family of nations. Thank you, Igor, for this very meaningful remarks. Thank you for the problems that you've mentioned or highlighted, that you talked about things that others know but sometimes are afraid to voice. And thank you for these keys. And thank you for Horizon Europe program, where indeed you just take a key and you find a proper cluster, you open the doors of the cluster, look for partners and get funding. So thank you very much for your intervention. I would like to ask Evgenia Polishuk, who is connected to us online. I would like, if possible, for Evgenia to speak. I am calling to you with the following question, something that a lot of Ukrainian scientists and researchers are work outside of Ukraine in many other countries. Can we say that Ukrainian scientific diaspora is a resource for international presentation of Ukraine outside of Ukraine, for creating consortium, for knowledge transfer, and what's more important, for returning of international expertise to Ukraine eventually, and for contributing? Thank you very much for this question. I hope that you can hear me well. It was great for me to listen to my colleagues who spoke earlier. We have done a lot so that we could get involved in European research infrastructure and in general to ERA. And I would like to say from the very beginning that indeed it is a resource because Ukrainian scientific diaspora and our community, we can be looked as scientists who left Ukraine before the full-scale invasion, after full-scale invasion, and their potential is, of course, very different sometimes. And according to our research and things that what we see, we know that approximately 30% of scientists still work either online or they participate in the Scholasy program, and they do plan to return. And this return can happen in different ways because the profession of the researcher is quite mobile. So you can temporarily come back, you can come back permanently. The key is to make sure that this return into scientific research community is meaningful. Ukrainian scientific diaspora not just participates in some projects, they also participate in the development of different programs as well.
And this is especially true for the ones who left before the full-scale invasion. For diaspora scholars, there's some room on the roadmap of the Ministry of Education and Science for integration to ERA. And these are two ways through to join the research infrastructure for the diaspora of our scholars and researchers out there, and scholar diplomacy. And let me discuss Gdansk Declaration and the International Coalition for Recovery of Science, Research and Innovation. And this has been referred to by Igor, and there are several communities of interest already up and running, operational, with the inclusion of diaspora. research diaspora. One of the community of interest joining this coalition is scholar diplomacy. We have 55 entities joining the coalition, and over last month we have received with Mykhailo HREBENIUK, and where we co-chair this community, and there are several requests for joining. And the principal request is not just to join, but to understand what can be done for recovery of Ukrainian science and research. And we actively develop the area for transportation or transfer of equipment used but still available, still operational equipment, and we hope that our Ukrainian research diaspora will provide for that. There's this community of interest, and we understand that there are initiatives and there are certain issues as to how we should transfer this equipment, actually transport it. There are some initiatives in the United States because there is a lot of equipment available. They would be happy to donate, but we need a reliable model for this transfer. And it is great that we have this since April, this scientific ambassador regulation drafted by the Ministry of Education and Science, and that emphasizes the important resource that we can have for Ukrainian research and development institutions that relocated of the full-scale invasion. And this is for the higher education institutions and research labs at such universities. Another good case, Suma National Agricultural University, when they go abroad, they distribute science ambassadors certificates for the people who act in that field. This is not just about relations, this is not just about trust and arranging for the bridges. This is some experience which is readily transferable and available. So they, in diaspora, they look for some Ukrainian university to join different programs and initiatives. Now we receive a lot of requests for such recruiting of Ukrainian scholars and researchers available with different entities. We have nauka.gov.ua, we have this digital map posted, and there you can log in and establish direct contact with the scholars which belong to your particular area of interest and eager to cooperate with that. Let me say additionally that apart from this digital map, we are now working on the analytics, and we are trying to hit the needle's eye with the thread matching, and it is successful with the mentorship program we've developed for cohorts of such pairs, and this is a good start for drafting and filing applications, not necessarily together, but say in cooperation. The results are spectacular. Understanding of the problems for the Ukrainian systems of research and higher education, for that matter, and also the mentorship program in the Ukrainian language being available helps make this sustainable, not just accidental or specific. And we stick to this new framework of scientific diplomacy coming from the European Union, and our scientific diaspora in Austria have had their first European Forum on Scientific Diplomacy. We have drafted a policy brief where we instruct Ukrainian academics and scientists as to how they should and can approach ERA. Well, this is the principal thing in our pipeline. We have a fan base, and you're invited and welcome to join our LinkedIn, Facebook, and digital map, where you can have a subscription or following to receive all the relevant materials. Thank you very much for your answer. Opportunities coming from the Ukrainian scientific diaspora. We will stay in touch, because indeed for Ukraine it is very important to look for partnerships. This kind of twinning is very important, and it takes some connections to become a full-fledged participant in such competitions. Now the program committees serve as a very important mechanism for Ukraine's participation and implementation of Horizon Europe program and presentation, or rather lobbying for the Ukrainian interests. Oksana, coming from your background, with your experience, can you say that there are actual real opportunities for Ukraine to lobby for her interests scientifically and academically? As a representative of the Ministry of Education and Science, what you would point out as a role for the ministry to play in this lobbyism? Thank you very much. I would like to greet you and thank you, especially those who joined us so far, Igor, Olga, and Horizon Ukraine office. Thank you, Horizon Europe office in Ukraine. The program is incredible. I'll discuss the component of costing in more detail now. About participation of the work of program committee. This is not just Horizon Europe program. Well, specifically at the program committee, together with the EU colleagues, we are discussing this Innovation Council program for 2027. A couple of days ago, the budget already reconciled. We received there are some disadvantages. It's 80% lower than expected for 2027, but the interest of Ukraine is in the percentage for open component funding, where researchers choose their subject freely for themselves, is unchanged. For the important matters for the EU, it's not that competitive for us, because we have our own things, so to speak. It's good news for us, and State Defense 2027, with the support of Innovation Council for Innovation, all our research and you'll use developments, and you can get funding for such formats, and this is very important. And so, right, this communication takes place in a very active mode. We are in cooperation with the colleagues that attend the committees. We have no voting power, but still, well, the day will come, I hope. That will be the day when we can vote. But lobbyism is important, and it takes place, and the interests of Ukraine taken into account, readily accommodated, and our colleagues from the EU can clearly see that in some points we also can reciprocate offering something. It is very important. Now speaking of more general matters, policy making and so forth, together with the EU colleagues, we are now working on new innovation agenda implementation. Ukraine has active progress, and we are filling in another report on reintegration course, chapter 25 in science and innovation, and there we have good progress registered, and the draft and development on innovation active new system of priority for science innovation after the first reading at the parliament, updated information on the priorities. So we have finalized with the second reading. I hope that very soon we'll be able, together with the colleagues, with the MPs, to provide for tabling of this and voting for that. And for innovation activity, for the first time, with the task forces concluding their work, and with the sub-groups becoming available by the end of this year, we hope for the second reading for this draft, because both bills have grounds for Euro integration course. They have both fundamental, respectively, for innovation ecosystem, development of infrastructure, priority areas, basically with the financial toolkit and rearranging of the system of funding in the part of basic funding and funding for the competition of applied research. And apart from that, we have another project on transfer technologies, and it has been subjected to public hearings, and now has been reconciled and with the ministries. It is very important in its Euro integration related part. When we discuss about that, about implementation, it's one thing, but when we on our way to Europe, we have to not just import but export technologies, cutting through the red tapes with the standards and regulation of the EU to be observed, and we're working on that to update this also. And now financial instruments, with them we can draw everybody's attention to the gaps in our science, for it to integrate, to cooperate with the EU partners, and also gaps in the infrastructure, low participation, low rate of participation in Accelerator, Pathfinder and transition programs with innovation infrastructure. For this, we created the Start Up schools and accelerators, 27 participants. The pilot is over, and we are to achieve scalability. Now with this initiative, we can provide direct participation in the Ukrainian Innovation Council for the Ukrainian universities and also startups, innovative business, working for support of science-intensive startups, our accelerators and incubators. There are plenty of them, but they are basically focused on IT, and we are trying to do it in such a way that the focus shifts to more science-related product-based startups, or product-oriented startups. Speaking of the problem that was mentioned by Igor, the scarce funds this year, we created research centers of best practices, 6 centers with more than 1 billion hryvnia available for their funding, for their finance, This is an unprecedented project in its own right. We have support of the Minister of Finance for next year also guaranteed at least 4 new centers to prepare. This is very important because it's basically defense sector. Next time it will be more. I can see that Natalia is picking up her mic to stop me. We have plenty of initiatives. Let me mention the bus. Now, why is this important for the European research area and our presence there? This is full of our science and the European environment. 60% of engagement. We have 71 ideas, 27 with the Ukrainians' participation as the second applicant. That means that we are very active and gaining the momentum, and we have to present all the opportunities at the national focal point. We are trying to achieve that, being that there's some negative attitude on when we had the first call, nobody seemed to be interested. Now they come in battalions, but I hope that I will be able to put them all through the pipeline in time. Thank you for following our updates and the instruments that are presented by the EU for our science and innovation. And thank you, Office of Horizon Europe, for your work and our active cooperation. Thank you, Oksana. Thank you for the information, for the advantages that you have highlighted and the opportunities presenting themselves. So we have a limited time, and now Natalia, as a representative of Program Committee, with a position having to do with the European research area. Moderator, it's called. So what opportunities are presenting themselves to Ukraine, and do we tap on them as much as we possibly can? Thank you very much for joining us online. The Horizon Europe office in Ukraine, National Research Foundation, Ukraine Ministry of Education and Science for this event and support that you render us as program committees. Oksana did mention that we are limited in presenting all our ambitions on behalf of Ukraine with an associated country. We can only be active in designated areas, but nevertheless, participation in the program committee serves as science diplomacy bright example, because participation in discussions with other countries is not necessarily formal, provides for best results, and I can tell from my own experience certain proposals would be taken into account despite being voiced informally. For Idera, this is not just a Horizon Europe competition. This is not a set of calls for the Ukrainian applicants. This is, they can support you. In my opinion, this is a bridge between Ukraine and European research area, ERA, because there are two areas. This thematic committee is concerned with widening and participation and ERA. This is for the Ukrainian scholars to be able to qualify for ERA standards at the competitions where the object is something that would be never considered before. The quality of research and project management, managers, talent sporting, headhunting, recruitment, open science, and so forth. This is a broad competition in its own right. So let me say that the four functions of ERA that can make us join the space with the scientific capacity building, institutional transformation, it's a bridge between science and reconstruction, because it is very important for us, as you can imagine, and for the Ukrainian school as well. Let me say, drawing attention to research management facility. It seems to me that every participant of our platform would, by all means, agree that it is important to develop project management. WIDERA is responsible for that with this research management facility, not just for the project management, but also research infrastructure for universities. That is to say that that is something for development of the Ukrainian science for the future. Twinning. It is very pleasant indeed. Anastasia was presenting the winning application. The Ukrainian University serves as the coordinator for that. Very powerful. We have had several Ukrainian universities serving as coordinators in twinning, and it's a European request, and we should realize that twinning is not just a competition. That makes it possible to arrange for cooperation with the European partners. And another very important aspect of the thing is not just networking, but after 5 years widening, and that is to say that we will see whether the universities are in position to apply not just for training, but for more important, more scientific developments, real research, and the Ukrainian researchers, the European Excellence Initiative, Excellence Hubs. This is our bridge to business and to things pertaining to recovery and reconstruction in Ukraine. And there are two things that should be mentioned by all means here. Cheers, fellowship and towns, helping Ukrainians integrate and assisting our science in its further development. So there are plenty of opportunities. So let me say that every one is to one's own turf. We advocate, we lobby, but WIDERA is a system that helps Ukraine integrate into the European research area through competitions, and there are plenty of them. We develop this research infrastructure with a synergy effect, helping you in applying fundamental applied research. Well, thank you very much. WIDERA is the fourth component of Horizon Europe, and it engages associated countries for Horizon Europe programs and gives them opportunity to act as coordinators and then opponents and clusters of Horizon Europe. Thank you for your position. Thank you for your involvement and your presentation of Ukraine's Prince Mykhailo HREBENIUK, who joins us online. Can you hear us, Mykhailo? Yes, we can. I can. Mykhailo, you represent the Ukrainian innovative community in Brussels. You're the content person for Horizon Europe in Ukraine office. So here's the question. Are there any similar examples in the EU countries and associated states with the liaison officers and being present? Thank you. First of all, I would like to greet you on the occasion of this event and Horizon office in Ukraine with the successful implementation of this grand project. As part of this project, I would like to thank for the opportunity, thank the European Commission, National Research Foundation, and the office for this excellent opportunity to do our work. Now, back to your question. There is such a practice. This is a universal model, and that is why it is embedded in the grant program. So if we look into experience of member states, with exception of Greece, Luxembourg, and Malta and Croatia, everyone has similar offices in Brussels. Now looking into associated countries, in the same way the most active countries have their offices: Norway, the UK, Switzerland, but also now we have Moldova and Georgia is looking to the opportunity. Albania, there are some talks of that. So this is a sustainable model. Moreover, we can see that regardless of the size of the countries, those countries who would like to use all the opportunities or enhance the opportunities, they also invest in such offices. For example, out of immediate neighbors, Poland, several offices in Brussels, the attachment of people about 15, Slovakia 6 persons, Czech Republic 6, and even smaller countries of the Baltic region have high representation proportionately. Lithuania 4 persons, Estonia 2 people, and they have added another person for innovation agency, 3. Latvia increased another, added another billet. There are 2 people available. Different offices have different design and operational design, that is, and they represent research and innovation funds or foundations or agencies. There is a smaller number of offices represented by associates or specific ministries, and there are several offices functioning as associations with different national stakeholders engaged. And this shapes this network of offices and teams basically oriented at 2 areas, in my opinion: better understanding and advocacy for initiatives coming from the EU EC, specifically in the sphere of research and innovation, and new initiatives, their discussion in less formal formats before it comes to programmatic program committees or diplomatic discussions, for that matter. And also search for partners, making events in Brussels, brokerage events, study visits for the national stakeholders. So this is quite specialized. This is a special group of people trained for the purpose and experienced in that. We have to be grateful to the EC, the National Fund, the Foundation, for this opportunity, because in Brussels we have this important presence, and there we can discuss, apart from the opportunities on the Horizon program, we can talk to our partners, discussing additional opportunities, bilateral and so forth, something that makes it possible for us to augment more formal instruments.
Over this time, we were able to initiate a lot of study tours, common events where we searched for partners. We involved our international partners to Ukrainian events, and I think it's a very important activity that has to be continued. And unlike many other countries, at the moment we don't have the opportunity to have representatives or representation of Ukrainian higher educational institution in Brussels, which is a common practice for other Western countries. And under the condition of this lack of presence there, the absence of our associations here in Brussels, it is very important. And I would say that maybe 70% of time I spend on explaining to our partners, or I answer their questions about what happens in Ukraine, what opportunities are there, how exactly you can implement this potential that so many people are talking about. And I try to debunk certain stereotypes that are there because, and that are widely spread, because people do not often have the right understanding of challenges and opportunities. And also I help to figure out how exactly communication should be established in order to search for partners in Ukraine, and how exactly these partners can be involved in the programs. Thank you, Mykhailo, for this important information and for representing and for presenting to us those successful cases and how exactly they work, about these offices in associated countries and the countries of the European Union. And thank you for all the support that you've provided to us over the last 3 years of Horizon Europe project. So to summarize this panel discussion, I would like to say that this discussion that we had today indeed was very meaningful. I am very grateful to you for your very open answers and remarks, the issues that you raised, the cases that you presented today, things that we will continue to work on. And in the future, hopefully, we will help to we will have to close the gap and build bridges to make sure that Ukraine moves to this key room of the European research space as soon as possible. So thank you very much. And in order to commemorate this event, I would like to invite all of you for a joint photo. So please, everyone, let's get together for family photo. So hopefully the technical support for our online speaker, I don't know if we have that opportunity, but now we have a group photo for the speakers. Is it possible to somehow add online participants of the third panel so that we have indeed a photo of everyone? Let's just have Polishuk and HREBENIUK only to make sure we have them on the photo, on our online format. And Polishuk, please, also, if you can get the image for the photo. Thank you very much. Dear participants, as I mentioned, after our official part, after our panel discussion, I would like to invite you to our networking lunch, and here where you can talk and discuss everything that was presented here. And I would like to invite Olga POLOTSKA to make the summary of our discussion and to present her remarks.
Is it working? I was actually asked to say this. A couple of words very briefly in English. So first of all, thank you so much for being with us today, for your patience, for your listening, and hopefully you will enjoy the rest of the event today, well, during the networking, because, well, you never know. Sometimes the networking might be the focal, pivotal point of the event. So that sometimes happens. So, well, and of course, so my finalizing words are the words of heartfelt gratitude to the Ukrainian research community, to everyone who is not indifferent, who is inquiring about the possibilities. I'm definitely very, very grateful to the European Commission and to the General Directorate for research and innovation for everybody, even the ones, Igor, that was an amazing point, very emotional that you mentioned, the ones who are not now employed, not part of the of this directorate, but at the same time they will always remain part of the history of Horizon Europe office in Ukraine and development of Ukrainian possibilities under the EU funded program. I'm also very grateful to the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine, who have always been next to us. So, I would say that sometimes the relationships between the National Research Foundation of Ukraine and the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine might be called complicated, but this is okay because the NRFU is actually a very young institution struggling very hard for its independence, as you have heard today several times. So, you know, that sometimes happens with kids, you know, when they are striving for independence. So, but hopefully that will be perceived as a joke, quite a philosophical one. And of course, I'm very, very grateful to everyone who has been with us during these 36 months. Yegor Pivovarov, the delegation of the EU delegation to Ukraine, the management of the delegation also. Because you are, without any exception, the one whom we always ask for advice, and we are eager to listen to your criticism. This is a very valuable thing for us. So, anyway, this is the very fine. Again, I can't believe that this is happening, but this is the final informational event of Horizon Europe Office in Ukraine 1.0. So, now we are in the transitory position at the moment. Yeah, so, as soon as August ends, so the new era is going to start with the 1st of September, which is very symbolic. So this is, we should welcome Horizon Europe Office 2.0. Of course, there is a bit of bureaucratic work to be done by the NRFU, the ministry, and me personally to make this happen, and hopefully we will cope with that as soon as possible. And again, so we have already during this 36 months, we have developed friendships, we have developed community, cooperation, a lot of networking. Now with all that kind of a basement, I do hope that Horizon Europe Office 2.0 is going to be the following level, and all of us are going to be on the following level with pertaining the same level of trust and understanding why we're doing that. And at the very end, I would, of course, like to thank the armed forces of Ukraine for providing us with the opportunity not only to meet today, but to pursue our professional careers in the country that's struggling so hard for being an independent European country. So once again, thank you so much and enjoy the networking.
Дякуємо вам велике, пані Ольго. Дуже вам вдячні, шановні учасники. Я хочу запросити всіх на спільне фото. Учасники онлайн так само, будь ласка, увімкніть свої камери, щоб так само бути на наших фотографіях.